Top story that we are following here on India Today, the report that everyone was eagerly waiting for. The Air India crash initial report is now out. The probe says the fuel supply to engines was in the cutoff mode. Fuel cutoff switches went off in 1 second. Both the engines shut seconds after takeoff. Fuel switch cutoff led to the crash. Cockpit recorder reveals pilots were confused. No bird strike found in this crash. My colleague Ahmedabad is now joining me on the story. Ahmed, this is the report that everyone was very eagerly looking forward to. Unfortunately, from what we are understanding, the initial reports are pointing towards the fact from runoff to cutoff. The switch went off in just 1 second. The recording also shows that both the pilots were confused.
Well, Aishwarya, this is extremely technical report that has come out and filed by the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau, and we have to look into each of these details with much sensitivity. 241 people who were on board lost their life. It is possibly one of the worst civil aviation accidents that in the world as well as India. In India. So now if we go by, breaking it down, the report, technical report for our viewers. Like your car, aircraft also have fuel switches. And right after the takeoff, what happened with AI-171, the Boeing Dreamliner, is that the engine fuel switches transition from run position to cutoff position, which essentially means that the engine was not getting the fuel that it was required, for the acceleration. And that is why right after the takeoff, what we could see in the visuals was the flight started to deaccelerate, and instead of having an elevation, it was actually falling down. So one point is that within difference of 1 second, the fuel switches for both the engines, not only one engine, both the engines transition from run to cut off. And that is when the pilot asked his co-pilot, why did you switch off the fuel engines? And he responded, I did not, which indicates that this was possibly not manually done. Was it because of some technical error within the Boeing Dreamliner? That is a big question that the investigative agencies will take it forward from here. Number two is that, there was, as you mentioned, there was no butt hit. But it is to be noted that the entire life of AI-171 was of 94 seconds, Ashwarya. Right from the moment of takeoff from Ahmedabad airport to that elevation that it achieved, within 94 seconds, you had all of this conversation happening within the cockpit, and eventually AI-171 first hitting the trees around the Ahmedabad airport, and then the chimney of the army establishment there before landing on the BJ Medical College hospital building, and in which 241 people on board died, and so did people in the complex as well.
Ahmed, one of the crucial things which, from what we understand at the moment, will be asked is with regards to the failures, the mechanical failure that we are seeing, because the initial report obviously pointing towards the fact that the pilots did not understand what happened before they could even react. In the visuals also, it was pretty clear that just after takeoff, immediately after takeoff, the crash happened. So that's also something which Boeing specifically will now have to look into.
Well, Ashwarya, it is very important to note out here that not only AAIB, that is Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau, which is the nodal agency in India to investigate accidents of this sort, is taking forward this investigation. But even the international community domain experts have been roped in. So the NTSB, which is the United States domain expert agency for this kind of accidents, was immediately roped in. They have been given the status of accredited representative in this particular case, so that they are able to get and gather every aspect of the accident and investigate and assist AAIB. What the NTSB has done is that they have gotten the experts from GE, because the engine of Boeing Dreamliner was from GE. And the Boeing experts have been roped in by the NTSB, and so has been the FAA experts, included in that particular team. So yes, whether this fuel switch, problem which led a transition, which actually led to the crash, was part of Boeing's, technical problem, And because this is part of one of the red flags that was actually done by the FAA back in 2018, that there is some problem with the fuel switches of the Boeing of model 737. And it was also flagged that this similar model was being used, fuel switches models were being used for part of 787 Boeing Dreamliner, which this flight was. So this was flagged by FAA in 2018. And whether Air India conducted those audits or not, all of that is under question. But at this point in time, the AIB initial report is not blaming either Air India or the pilots or the manufacturers, because again, remember, this is a really big concern for India and across the world for the civil aviation industry. And if there are problems which are immediately indicating towards problems with Boeing, it will be flagged. It has to be flagged so that no further unfortunate and tragic incident happens elsewhere in the world. But as of now, the AAIB has not recommended any action against either Air India or Boeing in this particular case. So this means that the entire issue is for further investigation as to why those fuel switches transition from run to cut off, whether it was due to a mechanical manual problem, or whether it was part of the
Right.
technical glitch within the craft. This is matter of investigation at this point in time. Ashwarya.